Ladies and gentlemen, I am pleased to welcome you tonight for our first launch of the year from the Guiana Space Center with Ariane 5. Tonight, Ariane 5 is set to deliver into an optimized geostationary transfer orbit Intelsat 29e for Intelsat, the world leader of satellite services. Our launcher will be required a performance around 6.7 tons and will have a window of almost 1 hour and 20 minutes to lift off, opening at 11:20 p.m. Universal Time. The mission will last a little less than 30 minutes. I would like to thank Intelsat, our first customer for Ariane 5, for entrusting Arianespace with the launch of the first satellite of its Epic NG series, which is also the 56th since the beginning of our cooperation in 1983. Once on location at 310 degrees east, Intelsat 29, designed and manufactured by Boeing Satellite System, will be dedicated to very high throughput fixed and mobile communications over the Americas and the North Atlantic Ocean with its C, Ku and Ka band transponders. Tonight, Arianespace is particularly proud to serve one of its most faithful customers and contribute to its goal of delivering global high-throughput technology with Epic NG so as to meet the growing bandwidth needs of users over the globe. But our 84th Ariane 5 is now being readied for launch, so enjoy the show.
Greetings, everybody, wherever you may be, and welcome once again to Kourou, the home of the Ariane family, for tonight's live broadcast of Arianespace flight number 228. We're launching for an old friend tonight, Intelsat, and you can follow the broadcast in English along with me, or in French if you prefer, with our two interpreters, Catherine Van Fass and Anthony Roger tonight. We'll get a shot of them. There they are. We are coming to you, all of us, live, as usual, from the Jupiter Mission Control Center, where the countdown began very early this morning, 12 hours ago, to be exact. Jupiter is the nerve center of the space base, and it's the heart of all the action. We're going to be bringing you all that action in the broadcast ahead, so we hope you will stay with us, including close-up looks at the launcher and the satellite, as well as some interviews with some of the key players. Ariane 5
attend patiemment sur le bâti, regardons-le en détail. Elle fait 54 mètres de haut. Ce soir, cette version pèse 770 tonnes. Elle se compose de deux parties qu'on appelle les composites. Le composite inférieur qui comprend l'étage principal et les deux EAP, soit trois sources de propulsion. Le composite supérieur comprend l'étage supérieur ainsi que la case.
Inside of which is the passenger tonight, Intelsat 29e. We'll describe each of these stages in detail as they are functioning, so you can follow Ariane as she makes her way across the Atlantic during her mission, and we'll have more on the satellite as well. We want to introduce you, when we open the broadcast, to some of the key players who make the mission happen. You're looking into the Arianespace High Command. This is led up by Stéphane Israël, of course, Chairman and Chief Executive. With him, Louis Laurent, the Senior Vice President for Programs, and Edward Perez, the top technical officer, and for Ariane, and the living technical memory for all Arianespace flights, and rounding out the team, Patrick Loire, who heads up the Arianespace facilities here in Kourou. These gentlemen are the top four, and if anything unexpected should come up before or during the mission, it'll be their job to decide what to do about it, and you may see them on the telephones with their crews here at the space base or back in Europe who report into them. At this moment, what is going on? Well, the launcher is waiting on the pad. We finish up the topping of her liquid hydrogen and oxygen at 3 minutes before liftoff, so that's what's going on there. On the satellite side, satellite is on its internal power, waiting for her ride into space to begin. So with this brief introduction, we've set the scene for you. We hope you will enjoy our broadcast, the first launch of the year from the space base. To get us started, take a look at a first film. It's on the launcher campaign. You can see how Ariane 5 gets put together.
As usual, the elements of Ariane 5 came to French Guiana by ship from Europe. The crossing takes 11 days. Preparations began November 25th with erection of the main cryogenic stage and the 2 boosters, which are made here. The upper stage was mated onto the vehicle equipment bay on November 30th. All these operations took place in the launcher assembly building over 19 days. The launcher was transferred without its passenger to the final assembly building on January 8th. Intelsat 29e arrived in French Guiana by plane on December 11th. It was taken to the space base, where in clean rooms inside the S5C building, initial operations began with an adapter fit check. On January 9th, its fuel tanks were filled with the propellant it will use for its long life in space. It was then transferred to the final assembly building, where the sequence called Combined Operations began. Intelsat was placed directly on the upper stage, and the fairing was put in place over it on January 19th. 6 days later, 24 hours before launch day, the Launch Readiness Review meeting gave the green light to transfer the now fully complete launcher out to the launch zone. The launcher, launch table, and transfer group weigh over 1,700 tons and take an hour to reach the pad. Here, Ariane 5 awaits the start of her final trip into space.
Well, before we can make that final trip, there's still a lot to do during these final moments of the final countdown as I catch my breath. We mentioned the filling of the liquid hydrogen and liquid oxygen tanks, which are topped up until 3 minutes before liftoff. We didn't say why. This is because of the extremely cold temperature of the cryogenic fuel used, cold meaning down to minus 250 degrees for part of it. And it boils off easily, this cryogenic fuel, especially in the temperature here, but in any temperature, so we correct that. This is the DDO, this is the mission director. Next to him is the DDO, the range operations manager, and he's going to call out the 7-minute mark.
Attention pour la séquence finale lanceur. Top H0 moins 7 minutes.
The DDO calls out all the milestones, including this 7-minute mark, which is important. It's called the synchronized or the automatic sequence. What it is a series of complex operations running right down to liftoff. Gradually, what happens is the launcher is moving from ground dependency to autonomy. Power is passing from the ground, which controls everything now, to the 2 onboard computers, which will control everything afterward. We go to a short description of the upcoming mission, and we'll be right back.
After liftoff at 8:20 p.m. local time, Ariane 5 rises for 2 minutes 24 seconds, then her 2 boosters are separated at 69 kilometers up. The fairing is separated when she leaves the Earth's atmosphere. The main stage burns for 9 minutes. Her engine shuts down, and the upper stage engine takes over 10 seconds later. The upper stage burns until 24 minutes into the flight. Then the ballistics phase lasts 5 minutes until separation of Intelsat 29e at plus 29 minutes and 52 seconds.
So all that's ahead. The space base here covers a lot of ground, 750 square kilometers, and a lot goes on here. And all the activities that do go on here can be summed up on the right-hand side of your screen by the green panels. We call them the status panels. What they are a go, no-go, green, red resume of everything it takes to successfully prepare, launch, and follow Ariane, or Soyuz, or Vega, of course. Green means okay, red means the opposite. It's very simple. If we get a red in any of these areas, and you can see them there, these are on the wall in the back of the Jupiter Mission Control here. If we get a red in any of them, we stop the countdown. We check these panels during the first part of the mission before lifting off. They have to be green to get a go, and as you saw, that is the case. Some 1,700 people are working around the space base and all. I mentioned it's a big base. It's a busy place. We don't have cameras everywhere, but we are going to show you one busy place. This is the Launch Control Center, where the launch management teams are working under the direction of this fellow, Jean-Pierre Barlet, the Launch Operations Manager. Jean-Pierre is a veteran. This is his 14th mission. 4 teams under him working together. 1 team responsible for launch operations, a second for flight readiness of the Ariane launcher. This team signs off on the OK to fly and on the OK to transfer the vehicle to the launch pad, which happened yesterday. A third team follows the countdown from a quality point of view according to our established procedures here at the space base, and a fourth team overseeing the safety of the people and the facilities in the launch zone. In all, about 100 of them up there. And they're much closer to the pad than we are here in Jupiter. We're about 13, 14 kilometers away, but they are right there under the nose of the launch vehicle, about 1 kilometer away, protected by 1 meter thick walls of the Launch Operations Center. Some other checks going on. The final checks are happening between the launcher and its telemetry tracking and command systems to see if all is well there. We got an all systems go report that let us move into the final sequence at -7 minutes. At -4 hours, that's a while ago, tests began with the downrange tracking stations, and you'll be hearing from them soon. We had our last weather check. There are a couple of them before liftoff, the last one occurring 10 minutes before liftoff. The tanks, which we talked about, were pressurized at -4 minutes. Just ahead, -1 minute, we will make the final switch to onboard power mode. This version of Ariane is mainly for commercial launches into what they call geostationary orbit, which is where most telecom satellites go, like tonight, and the lion's share of Ariane 5's work is telecom satellites, as you probably know. There is another version of the vehicle which is used for other orbits, like low Earth orbit or sun-synchronous or polar orbit. Tonight, the 84th launch of an Ariane 5, the 273rd mission for the Ariane family. This is a split-screen image showing the propellant feeder arms, which are bringing the liquid hydrogen and oxygen into the upper stage. Liquid hydrogen is on the left, liquid oxygen is on the right. We'd just like to linger on this for just a moment because it's the last thing you're going to see. You see the yellow bars in the center of your screen going into the upper stage. They're putting the propellant into the upper stage tanks. Now you will see these arms pull back at -5 seconds as the DDO calls out. 5, of course, in French, 5. We monitor these arms and fill the very cold cryogenic fuel down to the last minute because it boils off in the weather here, as was already mentioned. It's one of the last things you're going to see before liftoff, so we just like to mention it. We're under the 2-minute mark, and here in Jupiter, the VIPs and invited guests have moved outside to watch the liftoff. If you've been down here, you know that there are 2 terraces on either side of the building, give a fine view onto the pad. And on launches to the east, like tonight, Ariane flies right over us. And if the skies are clear, which they have been for most of the day, the visitors have a very nice view. People also line the beaches to watch the launch where the view is also good. The DDO is going to call out the 1-minute mark.
À tous de DDO, attention pour -1 minute.
Coming up in the final 60 seconds.
Top. H0 -1 minute.
We want to say hi to all the Intelsat teams who are watching us from their offices on every continent on the globe. 23 locations in all, including headquarters out at McLean in Virginia. And we know you got 28 inches of snow at Dulles Airport over the weekend, so we hope you're all dug out and dried. Greetings, too, to our friends at Boeing, at the Boeing Satellite Development Center in El Segundo in California, where I think it snowed last in 1932, so no problem there. Also, hello to the people here in French Guiana taking the broadcast in Kourou, Sinnamary, and Cayenne. We hope you're all enjoying the broadcast. Final countdown coming up. We'll cut away and let you watch and be back when Ariane has cleared the tower.
Attention pour le décompte final. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, top. Allumage Vulcain. Allumage EAP. Décollage. Tous les paramètres à bord sont lumineux.
Well, a beautiful liftoff as Ariane 5 began her mission, rising into the night sky off of French Guiana, a trail of fire against the night sky, right on time, 2020 local, carrying her passenger Intelsat 29e. So we are underway. The boosters are providing 92% of the thrust, propelling the launcher along her trajectory at ever higher velocity, getting her away from the pull of the Earth. The DDO says all is well on board. And there is a lot to pull. Ariane's weight at liftoff is about 770 tons. Most of that is fuel, which she will rapidly start to shed because she's burning 2 tons of fuel every second. Ariane now following the flight program in the onboard computer, which gives all the commands, including stage separations, which we'll soon see. We are in the first of 4 flight phases. The first 3 are powered, the last is not. We'll describe each in turn. Right now, the first flight phase, the single engine in the lower stage called Vulcan, and the 2 boosters are burning. The boosters will burn their propellant in just under 2.5 minutes, and they're the first hardware that we jettison. And you hear the DDO call out that milestone. We are heading out east over the Atlantic. The decision to build the site in French Guiana was made in the 1960s when France wanted to build a new base. This was in part made for its opening on the water, so we can launch over uninhabited areas. You see the single engine and the boosters are burning. And if the camera holds still, we can probably see the extinction and the separation of the boosters. There it is. You see the white light is the single engine still burning, and no, that can't be right. The orange is the single still burning, and the white are the boosters dropping away. Sorry about that. But beautiful shots anyway. Booster separation right on time. The onboard computer detecting that there's no more fuel in the tanks. As they have no more propellant to burn, the thrust decreases, and the computer, sensing the drop in acceleration, decides to separate them. The white light burning is the single engine of the lower stage. On the bottom of your screen, on the left, our altitude, over 100 kilometers. On the right, our speed, 2 kilometers per second, and climbing. Coming up next will be the fairing separation in about 20 seconds. And you see the logos there on the fairing, traditional logos placed there by the customers. The Guiana Space Center, Europe's spaceport, certified ISO 14001 in 2004, renewed in 2008 and in 2011. So that means everything we do here is meeting the environmental standards internationally. There is confirmation of the fairing separation. You see what that looks like. There are 2 halves actually. There's another half on the right part of the screen. Separation is given by 2 pyrotechnic systems, one horizontal, one vertical. They're cords that actually remove the fairing by a small contained explosion, and we like to emphasize contained explosion, poses no threat to the vehicle. It shears the rivets that connect the 2 parts and pushes them apart. We can separate the fairing now, of course, and you see Intelsat 29e exposed to the elements. We can separate now because we're out of the dense layers of the atmosphere, over 100 kilometers up. There's neither friction nor heating, which could disturb the passenger. We also like to discard any dead weight whenever possible to maximize the launcher's operation. The fairing weighs over 2 tons, stands 17 meters tall. We're into the second powered flight phase. The boosters have done their work. Only the single engine burning now. It'll burn for just under 9 minutes, 8 3/4 minutes in all. Our speed is important at this moment because that's the role of the main stage. It's cryogenic propellant system, not only highly efficient, but provides a push that can last a long time. There are different propellant systems on Ariane. Cryogenics is used in the main stage, more efficient basically than solid propellant, as is used in the boosters. Basically, very basically, because I'm no engineer, solids are for getting us off the ground and away from the pull of the Earth. Cryogenics are for more precision orienting of the vehicle, and of course they also allow a stage to be reignited. That's in the other version of Ariane that we mentioned.
La trajectoire est nominale.
Everything is normal on board. The DDO continues to inform us. You can see Intelsat 29e there. That's the square box, waiting for her moment to be separated. We had a very busy year last year for all three Arianespace launchers, launching 6 Ariane 5s, April, May, July, August, September, October, and 3 each Soyuz and Vega. We began the year in February with the Vega and ended with a Soyuz mission in December. And this year promises to be just as full, with 11 launches scheduled, 8 with Ariane 5, so we should be approaching another record. On the right is Intelsat 29e. Beneath that, the white bands are the vehicle equipment bay, and under that, the broader white band is the upper stage. The long gray band to the left of that is the single cryogenic stage, the lower stage, and you can see the nozzle burning on the extreme left. We're going to be picked up by our first downrange tracking station in just a few seconds. That's over the border in Brazil at Natal. Natal is, we'll see the lower stage burnout and separation, as well as the upper stage ignition.
Acquisition de la télémesure lanceur par la station de Natal au Brésil.
And the DDO has just confirmed that we have picked up, that the Natal station has picked up the signal. All of Ariane's trajectory has been designed to be followed from the ground. The launcher is sending radar and telemetry back, and a network of stations keeps constant watch on our systems. Take a look at a launch replay now. Those exciting moments that took place 7.5 minutes ago. We may have another. We have cameras at several of the observation sites here around the base. So coming, we should have more of those for you in a moment. Here's one a little farther back, speeded up image, looks like. Galileo on the screen is the downrange tracking station right here.
La trajectoire est nominale.
Talking about the telemetry sent back by the launch vehicle. Telemetry is launch vehicle data, basically. Information on parameters, 1,000 of them, being collected and transmitted back to the ground stations every second by transmitters inside the vehicle equipment bay and to antennas outside the vehicle, checking Ariane's health and performance in flight, using pressure and temperature sensors, recording all her functions throughout the flight. It's another replay, it looks like from closer up. We're coming up on extinction of the lower stage, and you'll see the nozzle, the blue flame on the left, shut down. There it is.
Fin de propulsion EPC.
DDO has
séparation de l'étage principal cryogénique.
And the lower stage has been separated, and you saw the ignition of the upper stage. These 3 commands given by the onboard computer in about 12 seconds.
De l'étage supérieur.
The main stage falls back into the Atlantic. You can see what that looks like off the coast of Africa. Up in space, all is well on board Ariane. Our speed, 6.8 kilometers per second. Our altitude, 229 kilometers. The speed we need to inject the satellite will be roughly 8.7, I think, kilometers per second. So when we start approaching those numbers, keep a lookout for that. We're now into the third and final powered flight phase, a 16-minute burn for the upper stage. It'll burn until plus 24 minutes and 41 seconds. So 2 numbers looking ahead, 24 plus 24, 41, extinction of the upper stage, and plus 29, 42, the satellite separation. A film coming up for you now on the Intelsat Group.
La propulsion est nominale. La trajectoire est nominale. Tous les paramètres de bord sont nominaux.
With ignition of the upper stage, we are into the second half of our mission, and we can look more closely at the satellite. Ariane 5 carrying Intelsat 29e, the world's leader in launch operations, tonight lifting a satellite for the world's leader in satellite services. Intelsat, born in 1964, the same year, by the way, as the CSG. Another film on the organization now, this time with their CEO, Steve Spengler.
Thank you for joining us to watch the launch of Intelsat 29e. Today's launch marks the start of a new era for Intelsat and our customers. As Intelsat 29e is launched into space and placed into service, the performance of our global network will be dramatically enhanced. The launch ushers in a new generation of satellite-enabled applications for our customers. Intelsat is excited to be leading the next generation of satellite technology and services. Our satellite infrastructure is uniquely positioned to satisfy the world's insatiable need for connectivity. The Intelsat EPIC program, which includes 7 satellites, represents an investment of over $2 billion. As we deploy the platform, customers will benefit from improved performance, enhanced economics, and simple access that are the core objectives of Intelsat EPIC. Intelsat will use innovation in the sky as well as on the ground to extend broadband to businesses, villages, planes, ships, and yes, even cars, as new simple access technologies come to market. Our customer and application-centric approach includes open architecture and backwards compatible design. These features allow our customers to have maximum control over their service elements and to leverage their existing capital investments in ground equipment. Our customers told us they wanted more flexibility, so we incorporated innovations that allow Intelsat to claim another first in the satellite sector. Intelsat EPIC is the world's first all-digital commercial satellite system. It provides any-beam to any-beam connectivity and maximum configuration possibilities. On behalf of Intelsat's employees around the world, I'd like to express our appreciation for our manufacturer, Boeing, and our launcher, Arianespace, for continuing to deliver best-in-class service. And to the Intelsat team, your colleagues around the world watch proudly as this first mission is completed. We applaud your efforts. Lastly, thank you to our customers for joining us on this epic journey which begins today. Wishing us all a successful mission. Go Intelsat 29e.
We are staying with Intelsat, and we're very happy to have with us Ken Lee, who's Intelsat's Senior VP for Space Systems. Welcome.
Thank you.
We want to find out a little bit more about the new generation satellite. Let me ask you this. Intelsat, you got 50 satellites. You got thousands of customers in 200 countries. They're all happy. What do you need a new generation for?
Well, as you know, the technology is moving incredibly fast. And as a consequence, our behaviors are changing. And our consumption of data is changing as well. And our data consumption is increasing exponentially. And looking at our fleet, we decided that we are unable to support all these demanding applications into the future with current system. So we embark on a very audacious, creative research since 2010, looking at ways to improve and help our customers to meet their growing demands into the future, and at the same time able to use existing technologies and existing ground systems.
Okay, an important launch. Arianespace and Intelsat go back a long way. We're going to show you a film about the relationship, and we'll be joined by Wiener Kernerson of Arianespace after, so don't go away.
Right from the first launches, Intelsat entrusted its satellites to the newcomer, Arianespace. The successful collaboration continued as Intelsat was a regular on Ariane 4 right from its initial flight. Intelsat was there for Ariane's 100th launch in 1997. The partners continued working, and Intelsat flew 33 times on Ariane 4, including 18 dedicated launches for a total mass of nearly 74 tons. Intelsat was a passenger on the last Ariane 4 in 2003. Intelsat flew on an Ariane 5 for the first time in 2000.
Allumage EAP, décollage.
For Flight 180 in 2007, Intelsat continued its collaboration with JSAT for launch of Horizons 2. Brian Singh recalls the Christmas launch.
On a personal note, this is my 25th year working with Arianespace and coming to French Guiana. One of my most memorable missions was Intelsat 11 and Horizons 2. We launched Intelsat 11 in October of 2007, and then we started the Horizons 2 campaign and launched in December 21st, right before Christmas in 2007.
Intelsat was there for Ariane 5's 50th straight successful mission in 2012. It launched its first satellite for Latin America in 2014 on Arianespace's Flight 220. And today, the story continues as Intelsat opens yet another year of the successful partnership with Arianespace.
All right, we have a little more time, and after seeing that film, we want to look at this special relationship between the two companies. We're very happy to have with us Wiener Kernerson, Arianespace Vice President for Sales and Marketing in the U.S. Welcome.
Right.
Welcome. I got that right? Yeah.
You got that right.
All right. First, tell us about Arianespace Inc. UK, because I don't think people are that much know as much about it as they do about Arianespace.
Arianespace Inc. Is the marketing and sales arm of Arianespace based in Washington, D.C. We cover North America, basically, the U.S. and Canada. And we do also some government interface with the U.S. government.
Okay, I'd like to ask each of you to describe the special relationship. I can call it a special relationship? You both agree? It's,
Sure.
I think you can.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I mean, we've been at it for 20 years. So.
Okay, well, that's all right. I'd like to ask each of you, how would you describe it? Can I start with you, Ken? How would you describe this relationship of 20 years?
Yes, as you know, we started launching with Ariane using Ariane 1 back in 1983. Since then, it's been, 35 years of experience. We have a very trusting relationship, and we work together well, and they provide quality service to us.
Now, that's key. The word you mentioned is trust. Would you put an emphasis on that? That's very important for a relationship.
Sure. In this business, it's very small, and we need to be able to trust each other so that when we have issues, we can solve together. And this launch is a prime example of how we work together to make this possible today.
Okay, we'll talk about issues maybe in a minute, but I want to give Wiener a chance here. How would you describe this special relationship?
This relationship is really, frankly, cooperation. I mean, the only time we Arianespace and Intelsat talk contract It was when we negotiated. After that, we never took contract. We solve problems. Ken has a problem, Steve has a problem, they call, we work out the problems. It's not a matter of fulfilling a contract, it's a matter of satisfying the customers. And we do that very well, I think. Ken and I, we go back 20 years. We were in different companies, but we know how to work with each other.
All right, for people who might not know Intelsat or Arianespace, what example or anecdote or memory, professional I'm speaking about, could you cite, could you recall that would really paint the picture, that could really sum up the special relationship? Do you want to start, Ken?
Well, sure. I mean, I cited this launch. This launch was a very difficult one. We needed to deploy our spacecraft very quickly, on time, and Ariane was having issues matching with our co-passenger. So we developed Plan A, Plan B, Plan C, and Plan D, trying to figure out a way to get there. And we were not successful in Plan A, so we went to Plan B, and this was a Plan C, and we made it today.
We're on Plan C?
Yes, and you know, the thing is, we really work as a team to really fight very difficult situations.
Okay, Ken cites this launch as his anecdote. What have you got to sum up for us?
I would say with this launch, when you think about it, we started working at the beginning of last year on the issue of not having a co-passenger for Intelsat. And we keep working at it. And we finally, at early November, we come to a conclusion that was the solution. And everybody put their hand together. I mean, the people in Avery, the people at Airbus, and then here we are tonight.
Here we are,
successful launch.
And for the future, we will continue, I assume. But we are out of time. I'd like to thank you both. We'll get back to this a little later. We turn to Boeing now. We have a film on the builders of Intelsat 29e. We hope you enjoyed the short interview with our two guests. 1 minute left in the upper stage engine burn. Less than a minute. We'll be cutting off in about 40 seconds. Ariane 5 will soon be reaching her maximum speed. You can see in the bottom right. She's at 9.3 kilometers a second. And maximum speed due to be 9.4 kilometers per second. By the time she separates Intelsat at plus 2952, her speed will already have dropped. She'll be moving at about, I think it's 8.7 kilometers per second. And you see in the blue the scheduled cutoff. We always wait a few seconds for confirmation because there's often a lag in the telemetry coming in here, which is quite normal. Intelsat 29e, built by Boeing, of course, using their 702MP platform. The 51st Boeing-built satellite to be launched. by Arianespace. And the Intelsat-Boeing collaboration, also a long one, spanning 4 decades, 42 satellites ordered. The first launch in 1967. Intelsat today has 10 Boeing-built satellites in operation in its fleet. And the Arianespace Intelsat collaboration continuing with Intelsat 33e, I believe that's Epic 2, if I'm not mistaken, another in the new series. That's due for launch later this year, I do believe. Intelsat 37e, which should go up next year. The Arianespace Boeing partnership also continuing this year as well. 4 more in the launch manifest here, including 2 for Intelsat, another for SES, and another satellite. Waiting for confirmation of the cutoff. We've had the confirmation of the cutoff, I do believe. Yeah, you see our speed has dropped. You see how our speed has dropped now. We're down to 9.3 kilometers per second. Where is Ariane? She's about halfway across Africa, and she's now being followed by our final tracking station in Malindi in Kenya on the east coast of the continent. Ariane 5 crosses Africa in about 5 minutes. That's not bad. Faster than a speeding bullet even, I would say. The Malindi station sees the extinction of the upper stage and the satellite separation and the end of the mission. The composite that you see there is all that's left of the original, if you recall. What's the figure? 770 tons. You could never guess how much of that is left. I'll give you a hint. It's 13 tons, which includes, 6.5 for the satellite, the vehicle equipment bay, an adapter, and the upper stage. So down from 770 to 13 tons. The weight to power yield with this system of space transportation, or with most systems, is 1%, right? The launcher weighing 100 times more than the satellite it carries. Another spot where people are working tonight is called the CVI. That is the Immediate Visual Center. And that's on the hill behind us in Jupiter. We're bringing our camera up there for the nonce. The CVI has all the means for receiving all this telemetry that we've been talking about, processing it, storing it, all the telemetry that Ariane is sending back to the ground. And right now, this team is following and analyzing the key flight data, reporting Ariane 5's flight status to the team back here in Jupiter. Remember, Jupiter in constant contact with all the facilities needed for launching and following Ariane. The French Guiana site chosen in 1964 for other reasons, along with nearby hills that they need to put telemetry stations on top. It also offers advantages like the opening on the ocean that we mentioned, and which makes possible to fly both north and east for polar and geostationary orbits. A low population density here. There's 250,000 people living in French Guiana. Most of the nation is forest. Nearness to the equator was also an important element. Allows the launch to benefit from the Earth's rotation to get more quickly into orbit. That's what they call the sling effect. There are also no hurricanes or earthquakes, as can strike in other parts of the world. The CSG, the world's only dedicated commercial space base, Arianespace operating and marketing the launcher family, Ariane 5, Soyuz, and Vega. About a minute to go before separation of our passenger tonight, Intelsat 29e, always a moment of high concentration, but I think we're going to go to a quiz question so we make things a little lighter for you. Here's the quiz question for you, see if anybody can get this. We're launching a solo passenger tonight, something we haven't done in a while. Ariane 5, of course, known mainly for double launches. We've done hundreds. Arianespace quiz question number 228. Listen up. When was the last time we launched a solo commercial satellite? I say commercial because I'm not talking about ATV. But if you remember the ATV dates, you can win a prize too. The question, when was the last time Arianespace launched a solo commercial passenger? If you think you got the answer, hold on to it. We'll give it to you in a minute. Meanwhile, waiting for confirmation of satellite separation. You see our speed at 8.7 kilometers, right where we should be. The DDO should call out the moments. Looks like he's got something to say there, doesn't it? It's always a moment of concentration.
Préparation Intelsat 29e.
Well, there's the good news. Successful delivery, apparently, of our passenger, Intelsat 29e, at 1,379 kilometers, just past the east coast of Africa, and right on time. Now, the people applauding, however, as you look at this image of the satellite pushed away from the mother ship, and it is achieved by a series of springs, which pushes her away, as we watch that, we are still awaiting a strict confirmation that the satellite has been separated correctly. What do I mean? Well, among other things, we want to just check, take a few minutes to see that all the springs that separate the passenger have worked correctly, that the satellite has been separated in the right direction, not off on an angle, that has not suffered any shock or any damage at separation. There are a lot of things to check and verify. We're just going to wait. And I believe Stefan Israel will come out and announce when they get the news. Now, the information will come in from the Malindi tracking station in Kenya. It'll be relayed to Kourou, because Malindi, remember, sees the separation. Relaying that information to Kourou, then it will come in here. So bear with us while we wait. We'll have perhaps another replay or another film on Intelsat. Now, what happens, let's assume that she's separated, all right? What happens now is Intelsat 29e dropped off, as they say. I heard Ken Lee say that this morning. The satellite is dropped off. I like that, so I'm going to repeat it. It's dropped off a bit shy, he said, of its final orbital slot. And Ariane's mission, of course, is to put a satellite into a transfer orbit, not the final orbit. The satellite gets to its final orbit under its own power by firing thrusters and using its own fuel. Now I see Stefan Israel. Looks like he is approaching the podium. He has come out, he's shaking hands with Steve Spengler and with Mark Spivak, and he's approaching the podium. He's going to speak. His will be the next voice you hear.
Monsieur le Préfet, Mesdames et Messieurs les parlementaires et les élus, Monsieur le Président du CNES, Ladies and Gentlemen, distinguished guests, Arianespace is delighted to announce that Intelsat 29e was separated as planned on the targeted optimized geostationary transfer orbit. Arianespace is more than happy to celebrate the 70th success in a row of its heavyweight vehicle with Intelsat, our old partner for the success. Ariane 5 is by far the most reliable heavy launcher available on the market. Intelsat 29e is actually the 56th satellite launched by Arianespace for Intelsat. Our company started their cooperation more than 32 years ago with the launch of Intelsat 507 in 1983. Tonight, we are particularly proud to contribute to Intelsat's goal of delivering global high-throughput satellite services with the launch of the first of its new EPIC NG series. I thus want to express my deepest gratitude to Intelsat for the trust placed in Arianespace, and particularly to Steve Spengler, its Chief Executive Officer, whose presence here in the CSG with us is a great honor tonight. Thank you, Steve, for being with us. I should mention as well my friendship with Intelsat CTO, Thierry Guillemin. Thierry is in Toucan, also with us tonight, and who has worked with us on a daily basis to make this single launch a reality. Our roadmap is now clear. Arianespace is ready to deliver Intelsat 33 and Intelsat 36 this year, and next year it will be Intelsat 37. Let me also congratulate Boeing Satellite Systems, Intelsat 29's manufacturer, and its president, also with us tonight, Mark Spivak. Mark, we are extremely happy to welcome Boeing again for a high-throughput satellite launch more than 8 years after the Spaceway 3 flight in August 2007. We are on track for another series of successful launches with no less than 4 of your future satellites in our order book, and maybe some others to come quickly. We had not launched in January since 2002, at the time with an Ariane 4 vehicle. We could not dream of a better start to 2016, a year which may be a record operational year for Ariane 5. You know that we are targeting up to 8 Ariane 5 this year, which would be a new record for us. Tonight's launch was the 273rd mission conducted by Arianespace since 1980. It was also the 70th success in a row for Ariane 5, which counts more than 13 years without any failure. Be it for telecommunications or other applications such as ATV towards ISS, nobody should dispute that Ariane 5 has already made history in the launch industry. However, we do not intend to rest on our laurels. 2016 will be the year of the full confirmation of Ariane 6. You know that Arianespace is very committed in the success of Ariane 6, and Ariane 6 will be our success story for the next decade. Before yielding the floor to our customer, Intelsat, and to our partners, I would like to pay tribute to all the teams involved in this new success. Airbus Safran Launchers, our prime contractor for Ariane, and all its industrial partners for the top quality of Ariane. CNES CSG, led by Bernard Chemoul, and all our ground industrialists here on site for the outstanding availability of the spaceport and of our launch systems. ESA and all the member states of the Ariane program for their continuous support to our activity. And for sure, a very big thank to all Arianespace teams and to our Washington office. Mission to success, this is our motto, and we never forget it. So I would like now to leave the floor to Steve from Intelsat, and I thank you for your attention. Thank you very much.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and what a fantastic launch tonight. It was truly incredible. It was beautiful. We had a fantastic night, and it was really an awesome experience. It's an awesome experience even after 137 launches for our company. We should always marvel at the innovation and technology required to make this happen. But this launch is not like any of the previous 136 launches that Intelsat has conducted. Tonight's launch is significant because it marks a new era in the epic story of Intelsat as a telecommunications innovator. Intelsat 29e is the first of our Intelsat epic high-throughput satellites. Its entry into service starts the first phase of establishing a high-performance overlay for our global fleet. And more importantly, it allows us, our partners, and our customers to deliver broadband services that will impact the lives of millions of people around the world. I'd really like to thank two partners of ours that were central to this launch success. The first is Arianespace. It is known for delivering, and tonight Arianespace delivered. It was a flawless mission, and Stefan, we thank you. We thank you, Wiener. We thank you, Clay, and the entire Arianespace team, and your partners, CNES, ESA, Airbus Safran Launchers, and many others who did a fantastic job. Your professionalism is impressive, and it was really just outstanding. We also want to thank Boeing, and Boeing deserves special recognition. Boeing started this epic journey with us back in 2012. They partnered with us to incorporate the most advanced digital payload into our platform design, the bedrock of Epic's unique capabilities. Thank you, Mark. We appreciate all that your entire team has done. I want to also note Mike Newman for doing an exceptional job running the program, as he always does, and also thank Craig Kooning for his executive leadership. Craig was with us from the very beginning of this epic process. The work that we've done together enables us to deliver higher performing, more cost-effective broadband infrastructure to our customers. Service providers will utilize their existing hardware so they can deploy capital to expand their businesses into high-growth applications or new service regions. The Intelsat Epic platform will deliver fast, consistent, high-quality broadband networks. Intelsat 29e provides enhanced capabilities to the mobility segment. Very soon, commercial flights over the North Atlantic and cruise ships in the Caribbean will feature outstanding broadband performance in addition to live television programming. Intelsat 29e continues our heritage as the leading provider of satellite communications to the Americas. We've been part of the Latin American telecommunications infrastructure since 1965. 15 of our satellites currently serve over 200 Latin American customers. Intelsat provides infrastructure to support 60% of the wireless subscribers in the region, and we distribute 70 of the top 100 television channels in Latin America. We're very proud to be an essential part of the communications fabric in this region. Intelsat's mission is to leverage new and innovative technology to facilitate business growth and to connect and transform the communities that we serve. This perfectly describes our intent for Intelsat 29e. It enables new high-growth applications that reflect the demand of mobile consumers and the need to be connected at all times. Intelsat 29e also extends connectivity to remote villages and enables higher throughput enterprise and government solutions. Simplified access to our next generation technology is being facilitated by innovations taking place in ground and antenna technology. Working with partners such as those who have joined us here today, including Higher Ground, Kymeta, and NewTek, our customers will have much easier access to the higher performance and improved economics of Intelsat Epic. This is the future of our sector. I'm very proud that Intelsat, our partners and customers, are leading the way. And speaking of customers, joining us here today are Andisat, Axisat, Bylight, Harris Caprock, Omni Access, Net Globalis, Skynet de Colombia, and Panasonic. Individually, they are leading service providers on the land, in the air, and on the seas. Their vision of building new services in new sectors contributes to the resurgence of the satellite sector and powers our connected society. The customers with us today recognize the value of our next generation satellite technology from the very beginning. Your faith and trust in Intelsat and confidence in Intelsat Epic continues to motivate the entire company to support your business success. We thank you for your support. Finally, I want to thank the Intelsat team around the world, and I'm sure there was a lot of cheering tonight going on at our offices throughout the globe. I want to thank all the hundreds of people that have been working on Intelsat Epic and will continue to be involved in the program in the days and years ahead. We're all proud of your commitment. We're proud of your expertise and all the hard work that you put into this. And we're especially proud and appreciative of the energy that you bring to our customers every day. So, congratulations again to all the teams, and thank you for joining us as we embark on this new chapter in our history. Thank you very much.
Wow. It was cloudy all day today, as those of you know. And Stefan, I don't know how you did it, but as the rocket was ready to go, the clouds parted, and it was a beautiful evening. So I commend Ariane for having a higher ability to control the weather. So what an exciting and beautiful liftoff it was. I'm just honored to have been here. And I guess I want to start out with a shout out. This satellite was built in our Satellite Development Center in El Segundo, California. And there are approximately 200 Boeing and Intelsat people who put the satellite together watching this broadcast. And I want to send out a big shout out to them and a thank you, because those are the people that have really put it together, who have spent the long hours and the combined team putting this satellite together and delivering this satellite. So go folks, well done. Since the liftoff of IS-29E, it started its journey to its final destination to orbit. Our Mission Control Center in El Segundo, California will take control of the satellite, take it to its final orbital position, deploy the antennas and the solar array, and test it out before providing it over and giving it to Intelsat. We take that responsibility very, very seriously. Once it enters service, Intelsat 29e will revolutionize the satellite industry, providing market-leading flexibility, capacity, and services over the life of the satellite. And Boeing is proud to be a proud of that. Boeing and Intelsat's story is one of history and innovation as well. Boeing is celebrating this year its centennial, 100 years, and 52 of those 100 years have been dedicated to building satellites. The amazing part of that is for more than 4 decades, we've been building those for Intelsat. The first Intelsat satellite we launched was in 1967. Quite a story and quite a proud history. Throughout this mutual history, Boeing and Intelsat have been innovating and taking steps to be the game changers in the satellite industry. When I joined the company in the mid-'80s, it was Intelsat 6 that had an antenna farm and a capability unlike any other at the time. And so the continual innovation of the team is something very special. And today, with the world's most advanced digital payload technology, once again, changing the game. The Epic satellites are the culmination of history and innovation, the results of heritage technology and new and flexible capabilities to improve access for all of us and throughput across South America, North America, and the North Atlantic region. Pretty exciting. Thank you. I want to go out and say thank you to the teams at Arianespace. It's good to launch with you again. And I thank you, Stefan. It was a very, very professional campaign, and we look forward to many, many more. Very, very positive experience. And of course, the Intelsat and Boeing teams that helped make this launch a success today. I thank you for the ride, Ariane. Steve, I thank the Intelsat company for the trust you put in us. You've trusted us with your business, and we take that very seriously. And so we look forward to delivering more and more epics and continuing to change the game for us all. Thank you very much.
Bien. Eh bien, je suis à mon tour particulièrement heureux
I am also very happy to be speaking tonight. Tonight was the 70th consecutive success for Ariane 5. On this occasion, I wanted to say, to explain this success via the CNES's 3 missions tonight. First, we were an operator. We made an effort on the space base in 2015 with 12 launches, and this perfect start of 2016 as early as the 20th of January. This is a good omen for a very good year. Of course, this outcome is a team outcome. The team at CSG, I would like to highlight the effort made by all our partners around us. Thank you to ESA for its support. I'd like to mention the efforts made by the Arianespace teams, and of course, I'd like to congratulate all the industrial partners in the Ariane program. I also wanted to thank Intelsat, one of our oldest and most loyal customers, for choosing Ariane once again, and thereby CSG to launch its satellite. We go way back in previous lives together. Thanks to our high-level payload preparation facilities and all the services provided by CNES, we do our best so that your launch campaigns happen in the best possible conditions. Then I wanted to talk about CNES as an investor. We all know how strategically important the launcher industry is. That's why CNES could convince all of its European and industrial partners to launch Ariane 6, because we very quickly understood how necessary it was to have as fast as possible a new launcher built on the heritage of Ariane 5, but to meet the needs of the European institutional and commercial market. We had to simplify our organization that we're looking forward to, and this is now happening. And in 2016, CNES will devote almost 1 billion euros to the launcher industry. That shows how important it is to us, and we'll use that to build the launch pad for Ariane 6 here at CSG, and we'll also help finance its development with our European partners, waiting for it to arrive. Of course, we'll keep supporting Ariane 5 and Soyuz as well as Vega that were located here over the past 10 years. Last action by CNES in Guyana development. For many years, CSG has been the strongest asset in the European space program. All those who come here, as you said, are struck by the quality of our facilities and how effective our organization is. That's why we consider that our action should benefit the whole of French Guiana, and this is really the purpose of all the measures that were taken in order to promote the involvement of local companies in the Ariane 6 project so that it benefits the young people of Guyana as much as possible. And I wanted to recognize the new prefect of Guyana, Mr. Martin Gégère, for his appointment, and thank you for your unwavering support and your unwavering support of state services. That's what I could say for this first launch of the year. Maybe I was a bit too lengthy, but given the trust that we're given and all the efforts that we make to deserve it, I think it.
Bon, si vous me permettez, je vais conclure non pas en français-anglais comme tout à l'heure, mais en vrai français. Pour Winner Carnissian me dit que donc le signal a été acquis, ce qui montre que
Winner, who is from Haiti, has just told me that the signal has been acquired, which is great. We will be meeting again soon with our customer and for our customer Intelsat at the beginning of March for the launch of Eutelsat 65 West A.
Et donc ce sera dès début
Another single launch might become a habit. It will also be a very important launch for Eutelsat.
Nous avons annoncé 11 lancements
we are planning
il y a quelques jours en janvier, et j'ai l'impression qu'avec Soyuz nous pourrions avoir une surprise.
But I think that with Soyuz we might have a surprise, and maybe we'll be able to carry out 12 launches. And also, I think we will also have some good commercial news for Ariane 5. After this successful launch of Intelsat 29e, I think we can all feel really happy about this new success, and thank you to all of you once again.
So before we say goodbye, did you get the answer to the quiz question? When did we launch last a solo commercial passenger? The answer, July 2009, TerreStar 1. Between then and now, however, there have been other single launches. There was a military launch, Helios 2B, December that same year, and of course, all the ATVs that went up in 2011, 12, 13, and 2014. All those single launches. So if you answered any of the above, give yourselves a round of applause, and you get to watch the last launch replay coming up, we hope, in just a moment. And that will do it from us as the happy crowd makes its way out towards the exits. The champagne and the cigars are going to be forthcoming. Ariane 5 once again delivered. The signal, as Stefan Israel said, has been received. That was by the Kumsan ground station in South Korea. And the other early orbit phase operations, there will be 6 apogee thruster firings between January 30th and February 7th. Solar array deployment on the 4 reflectors will be deployed between the February 8th and 10th. Spacecraft, which is spinning, will then right itself find the Earth and payload testing begins. So that'll do it from us over these final shots of a final launch replay of Arianespace Flight 228. We'll say goodbye from Kourou, where the big news is. Ariane 5 has once again delivered, beginning her year in style as a new telecoms satellite begins its life. Intelsat 29e, the 524th satellite launched by the company, and this mission makes 70 straight successes for Ariane 5 going back to 2002. It's 13 years, which is a record in itself, but she's approaching the record set by Ariane 4, 74 straight between 1995 and 2003. And she keeps rolling. Next launch, as Stefan Israel said, early March, a single launch for Eutelsat. We'll be here. We hope you will be too. Until then, Joshua Jappel, for everyone here at the Space Base, thank you for being with us. We hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you next time.